Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Awaken Sunday Live Q&A. My name is Garen, and today we're going to be talking on prayer, intentions, and destiny. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you all again. Thank you so much for showing up. It's been a brilliant day out here today, actually. The rains have stopped, and there's a little bit of sunshine, and I'm actually really happy that it was raining when I did the windows yesterday because it was so comfortable out there. I was cool the whole day. I realized doing the last window between the two broadcasts here today that indeed being in the sun would have probably been a lot worse. So for that I'm very grateful, and you can see that sun in behind me there. So today we're going to be talking about prayer, intentions, and destiny. And this came up from a question that Cindy had asked in our Facebook group, Awaken the World group. And you can check out our Facebook page. We also have our Help Awaken YouTube page, and that is dedicated to help and advice. We come on a couple times a week. You can come and talk about anything you wish to talk about, and we will give insightful and hopefully wise answers to your questions. At least I'll do my best. Let's put it that way. So today we're going to be talking about prayers, intention, and destiny. And I think what I'm going to do is just return everyone to the opening graphic for a minute and go adjust those curtains a bit. My apologies. And we're back. That's better. I would have liked to have said that glow was coming from me, but no. To be honest, I think I still have a little too much of this guy in me. So, more on prayers, intentions, and destiny. And this is an interesting topic, and it'll be a good start. Cindy had asked about the power of prayer and, healing energy and the like. Okay, so let's start with the power of prayer. What the power of prayer really is two things. So we should say are. Power of prayer are two things. Okay. One, faith. A trust that there is something that is listening to your prayer. And two, a compassionate intent. The intent for someone else to benefit through your prayer, that you are having faith in something hearing your prayer. Now, here's the really interesting thing. Our prayers are always answered before we ask, if we're to believe the Bible. Hello, Cindy. Nice to see you again. And Jackie's here again. Hello, darkness, my old friend. It's nice to see you both again. Perhaps we'll talk away the day. It could be worse, you'll never say. Oh, don't get me started. I can butcher any song. I hear the sound of Garen. God help me. God help all of you. Well, it's very nice to see the both of you. And we're going to talk about prayers. So I was just saying with prayers that prayers are intention. And they're made up of the two components. They're made up of trust, faith that something is listening. And they're made up of the compassionate intention that we have for another when we're praying to see someone else healed, whatever the case may be. Now, here's the interesting thing, okay? If we're to believe the Bible, and I personally do believe this, all prayers are answered before they're asked. But what does that really mean? It means that as far as your higher being is concerned, there is never a need to pray for anything because all you need has already given in abundance. That is the truth of our existence. So, again, I go back to the only prayer I pray is one of gratitude. Gratitude that I am shown the things I am shown and given the opportunity to make choice, to choose a higher path, to choose a higher action. When I see someone, or as I said in the video about the physical world being a monument, getting tied up in the negative things that are going on in front of us right now can be devastating to our being. It doesn't mean we don't acknowledge they're happening. But what it means is we don't stand up against them, we stand up for the opposite. We stand up for that which is better. If people are spouting hate, we don't go after the haters and get angry at the haters and contribute more hate upon hate. We instead stand up for love. This is the truth of our prayers have already been answered. In gratitude, I know that that which is as it should be. So this comes an interesting question, okay? Let's go a little further when it comes to the healing. I am a certified Reiki master. I also do Reiki healing. Someone call it hands-on healing, whatever the case may be. And we would ask ourselves, well, maybe we'll go back to the example of Christ. This is the one of the easiest ways, especially since a lot of us here have that Western religion, Christian heritage in our backgrounds, okay? Or some offshoot of. Christ could not heal everybody. I mean, you would have to ask yourself, if he truly had the power to heal, why would he have not just snapped his fingers and healed everyone on the planet who needed to be healed? Why is it some places he went, he could heal no one? And in other places he could heal some, and then in other places he could heal everyone? Well, the answer, of course, is that Christ was not the person doing the healing. As a Reiki master, I understand that I am not the person doing the healing. I am simply a facilitator. I am facilitating the same as Christ was. Of course, he was doing it, 100 million times better than I do it. But what Christ was doing was providing the space, facilitating the ground of infinite being in a quantum physics science sort of explanation. We could say that he was manipulating the quantum field to allow the possibility of healing to become apparent should the being who was in need of the healing choose it. And in many cases, they did not choose it. Why did they not choose it? Because they had not the faith that it was possible. Their own mind, that their own ego selves, which is, and do not think that this mind is not highly powerful. It is. Christ told us so. And it is creating everything in this world we see today. Everything. Christ was able to manipulate the space to allow the energy of and the ability, the possibility of healing to be on an equal terms with not healing. And then it just simply became a matter of faith. If the person chose it, if the person had trust, not belief, but trust that they would be healed, the scales easily tipped in their favor. Because the person needing the healing had to only provide a very minute energy bump to push the scale over. And then in a quantum physics explanation, the quantum reality collapsed from all those possibilities down to only one possibility, that of them being healed. And with the next, the opposite was true. Cindy asked, can I choose healing but accept not healing? maybe be a little clearer with that one, because we have to be careful about when we say choose healing. Okay, how to balance. Let me see. Let's run through a little more on healing and see if the answers come out, and if not, we'll readdress a little more. Egoically, choosing healing really isn't about a choice in choosing healing. It's more about a choice in accepting what it is the perceived illness or issue is trying to show us about ourselves, is trying to be, because when we have dis-ease, external manifestation of disharmonious vibrational energy caught within our body's matrix, okay, and we could call that cancer. I experience 3 times now heavy bouts of skin cancer, dangerous skin cancer to boot. But we would call that the same sort of thing. Okay, so the healing isn't really the choice. The choice is do we accept and do we learn from, do we absorb the lesson, the meaning in our dis-ease, in that which needs to be healed. And if we do that, then healing is a natural occurrence. Does that seem to make that clearer? And Cindy, please do comment, or Jackie, if this isn't becoming a little more clear now. But it is not that we choose to be healed. What we choose to do is we choose to learn from. We choose to have the experience. We surrender to it. We take what it is there to show us. We take what it is there to gain out of it. And then we are healed to the extent that we are meant to be healed. In some cases, this is fully. In some cases, it's not fully. You see, egoically, we get so tied up in this individuated sense of self again that we cannot conceive, and I struggle with this all the time because I am a highly active 58-year-old. I am out there running up and down mountains and hills and kayaking all summer long and trying to stay fit and young and healthy and moving. I would struggle greatly with being put in a wheelchair for the rest of my days. Cindy says, can I have faith that I can heal but be at peace with not healing? Well, of course you can. We all have the ability to be healed, but and it's not about healing. It really isn't. The healing is that the sickness is a symptom. It's a symptom of something inside of us. It's a symptom of something that we're still struggling with, still holding on to, still not willing to let go of. And sometimes the healing is occurring at a level beyond what the limited ego can see. This comes back to the whole issue of death again, okay? Because you see, to the egoic sense, if we see ourselves getting ill and we see ourselves getting terminally ill, then we start to question why, and we start to become afraid sometimes, and that is perfectly okay. But what we really need to do is instead look for the lesson. Surrender to the experience, as hard as it may be. Let go. Surrender to the experience. And Cindy, I understand that totally. You choose not to be debilitated. And you know, personally, when I faced chemotherapy and radiation treatment, I did it the first time, and it was a big mistake. I used to, at my peak, I was 217 rock solid pounds of special forces dude and amateur bodybuilder. And after the first bout of chemo, I've never gone over 170 pounds ever since. And I lost all that muscle mass. And I don't honestly think of it as a bad thing. I let it go. But I would never go back to that chemo and radiation treatment again. The second time it came up, I went and I drummed on the ocean for 30 days with a native band. The third time it came up, I circumnavigated Okanagan Lake here, all 427 kilometers in my kayak, and just fished and foraged. That was my path to healing. So far to date I have healed, but one day I may not. One day it may be that which is meant to take my life. And how I choose to live right up until my last breath is what is mattering. And I run into this in Christian circles. It happened with Kelly's mother, because Kelly's father, according to Kelly's mother, the devil was attacking him, and that's why he was getting ill. And the devil won, and that's why he died. He didn't die because he was supposed to die. He didn't die because he had accomplished everything he had come here to do. He didn't die because it had a much higher purpose than anyone around him could possibly comprehend. He died because the devil beat God. Load of crap. I can tell you this irrefutably and with total certainty after stepping across the other side not once but twice. When your time comes, it is your time. You have fulfilled your mission. It is graduation. It's time to go home. You're going to love it. and you're going to love coming back too. You really are. You're going to love coming back as well. So when it comes to healing and what our healing is not asking God or asking our higher selves or praying to a creator to be healed. It's simply not. What it is instead is a prayer in gratitude of the experience that you're having right now, no matter what your ego may think about it. It's the faith and trust that everything in the universe happens for divine reason. And we're going to talk a little more about destiny as well. And then in gratitude, you simply say, show me. No, okay, I got to answer this first. There is no obligation to live by painful means. Cindy, there's no obligation to live. Okay, and this is a thing that every spiritual master will tell you at one point or another. They don't talk about it right away at first because too many people would tend to abuse it. Okay? But you cannot die by mistake. Whether you take your own life, whether you choose to avoid painful means and avoid chemo or radiation or any other sort of treatment that may be involved that's going to cause you pain and suffering, you can choose. The way in which you choose to die as a sovereign being is your choice, and your choices are part of your path. They are part of that destiny. You can't make the wrong choice. You can't. You can't do this the wrong way. You can only do it the right way. That's what we do. That's what we are. We do it the right way. That doesn't mean it may not be painful at times. Okay, I've experienced great physical pain in my life, and the one thing I've learned from it is that it's immensely centering. It brings you much closer to the sea of consciousness than anything else. And quickly, too. Our prayer should be for understanding of the lesson. Our prayer should be that we evolve and grow in the experience, that we're always looking for the light in the darkness. Not paying attention to the darkness, but living like you've never lived before. living as if each moment were your last moment. And in reality, each moment is our last moment because we live a succession of moments. And nobody knows when your moment is over, in relative terms. Our prayers should never be supplication, the idea of, as they started off to be, you know what, God, if you heal me, I'll do this. You know, that is not surrender. That comes from ego pushing up against life. And it's all life. Our concepts of living and dying are simply dimensional gateways. And coming into this realm, we come in the only way we can. You know? If only science knew that every single woman had a dimensional portal in her vagina. There'd probably be a lot more scientist geeks out there than there are now. Oh man, I'm going to pay for that. We all pass through that dimensional gateway on the way in. Thank God we don't have to go back out the same way. I mean, really. So let's talk about destiny here for a minute. And destiny is an interesting one, actually, because the cat is trying to pull my socks apart. Will you leave me alone? Little tiger. Our destiny is determined. It really is. And yet, you have total freedom and total choice. And I know that seems like a real dichotomy, so we're going to pull it apart a little bit so it makes a little more sense. You are destined to be reunified with the sea of consciousness because you've never left that sea of consciousness. So you are destined to lose the misconception that you were ever separate from the whole. That is predestined. You are destined before your birth through your own choice as to what parents you're going to have and what your base personality is going to be. You are destined to go through various circumstances and experiences within your life that are going to reveal and heal a common thread within you. Good question, Jackie, and I'm going to come right back to this one in just a minute. We are destined to have these experiences that will reveal to us a common thread. In the case of myself, it was over-ego identification. That I was somehow better than others around me. And, you know, my whole life story in a nutshell, at age 5, I was pulling apart my mother's watch that didn't work and putting it back together with less pieces in it, and it functioned again. In kindergarten, I would sit and read encyclopedias while the other kids were finger painting, and they were calling my mother into the school to tell her that there was something wrong with me. This was the cycle of my life. And I developed a huge ego from that, a huge superiority complex. And when I look back at all the things that happened in my life to beat me down and beat me up and bust me to pieces and grind my face into the dirt until I finally got the point. You're destined to get the point. The freedom of choice comes in on how rocky of a path you want to take. You know, really, you can picture, nature sitting there with a selection of baseball bats. And this one's made out of Nerf material, and this one's made out of cotton, and this one's made out of, and finally this one's made out of, pine, and then, and finally, look at this one. This one's titanium, and it's got extra weighted at the end. It's really our choice which one of those bats we want to take it on the side of the head with. And nature always starts off, our higher selves, our being, in nudging us along the path, always chooses the Nerf bat first. It always chooses the lightweight cotton candy bat first. The problem is we're not usually paying enough attention to feel that. So as time goes along, the lesson comes back around again, except this time, maybe it's made out of balsa wood. Yeah, maybe we get it, maybe we don't. I know for me, I've taken the weighted titanium special baseball bat to the back of the head a lot of times, enough that I've got an indent back there. Why do we fight to make our lives what we think we want? Really good question, Jackie. I agree. It is a good question. Why do we? Especially when we don't really know what we want most of the time. I mean, one of the issues I had with that movie, The Secret, which was really all about getting stuff. And as I mentioned to you, you could just imagine a world where every ego got everything it wanted right now. One, we would destroy ourselves and the planet quite quickly. 100,000 people wanting 10 luxury cars in big garages with huge, beautiful homes. Imagine that in a small downtown area all of a sudden. That's the BS of those sort of shows, okay? The power of intention, the power of our creativity to make our lives what we want is only in terms of perception and thought. Everything else is really only designed to give us a feeling. Like if we think about it, it's not the object that we're going out there to get that's doing anything for us. It's the feeling we think it's going to bring. I've always wanted one of those really nice drones with the first-person view goggles, so I would feel like I was flying the drone. But the more I look at them, the more I realize it was actually a feeling I'm looking for. It's that feeling of freedom. And I don't need the drone in order to feel freedom. I can experience freedom. I can choose freedom. I can make time in my life for freedom without the need for that drone, because that drone is not actually going to bring me freedom. It's not going to bring me the feeling of freedom. Maybe in the short term it will, but eventually it's going to bring me pain. Because it's going to break, or it's going to get lost, or it's going to get stolen, or it's not going to work as well anymore, or something's going to happen. Sooner or later, it's going to cause me pain. We fight to make our lives what we want for a number of reasons. And a lot of these reasons are based, of course, on and this is where I always say to people, examine what you want really, really closely. Because what you want isn't usually what we want. And then take what you want and expand it into long term. We are first awake at the beginning of life, and then we run into puberty where we go right to sleep. The first initial years are kind of like the necessary playground time to keep us from going totally nuts by the time we're 20. And then right around 13 to 15, the ego is well entrenched and we're right to sleep again. And at some point we are going to wake up and begin to understand that yes, as Jackie says, we do have choice. But what are those choices? Oftentimes, those choices are already fairly preset within our lives by the time we wake up. We may be stuck in a career, in a marriage, in another situation. And Cindy's right. Be careful for what you wish for. You may get it. You choose your roles. You choose how you're going to define the role. If you are already in the role, you can disidentify. Like, for example, let's say you're a teacher and you wake up and you've been teaching for 20 years and you're well set in your career and you have another 10 or 12 years to go and you plan to retire. You're going to be young and you have a good retirement and you're really enjoying having the summers off and you're traveling down to Mexico and teaching kids in the summers and just having a blast. And you wake up and you decide, I don't know if I want to be a teacher anymore. But you feel entrenched in that role. As long as you've disidentified with the role as who you are, you can reinvent the role. Maybe you do continue on the role. Maybe you don't continue on that role. I've always said, anytime egoically I've tried to make my life what I want, it's ended up in failure in some way or another. I've really found peace in surrendering to what is. To saying whatever's happening right now is what needs to be happening. To realize at all times I rest in the arms of my Creator. What we truly wish for in life, I think, is the same thing that everyone wishes for, a sense of belonging, a sense of love, a sense of peace, of purpose, of creativity. And all of these things are possible for us all the time. That which we do does not have to define who we choose to be. And if I would have woken up and been 2 years away from a full retirement, I would not have left the forces without my retirement. I would have waited the 2 years. Because to me, that would have made sense. That may not necessarily be the case for you. My level of waking up did not, the whole world seemed topsy-turvy in a heartbeat, but I still didn't buy it enough right away to drop everything. And you don't need to either. Disidentifying with our false concepts of self, understanding that we are not that which we do, and that having a life the way we want is a case of the way we choose to perceive, which is the way we feel about the thoughts we think about our experiences. So for myself, an example, as I said, I'm a really action-based person. I don't really like to sit down for very long. Transitioning to writing and to doing these videos as the main bulk of my activity in a day outside of yoga and walking and other things like that has been a bit of a switch for me. But I've come to see spots where I was still identifying with old roles and have been able to release those as well. So my perceptions, my thoughts about things, I'm guiding my thoughts more and more towards not having the outward experience of the life I want, but instead at all times perceiving that what is occurring right now is exactly what I needed. Thank you, in gratitude. No matter how hard it looks on its surface. And in that, I find fulfillment. In that, I have a life where I don't struggle to make a life. I just allow life to flow right through me. I may be broken living on the street 2 months from now. I have no idea. You know what? It's okay. Whatever is meant to be is meant to be. So maybe one of the better questions we need to ask then Very good, Cindy. At the depths of darkness and sorrow with cancer before, I quit begging, and all I asked for was peace, and I let it all go. Woke up so peaceful and free. Exactly. When you finally let it go, when you finally quit holding on, you realize you've always been held. That it's okay. See, we hold on so tight, we lose feeling, and all we feel is that grip we have on that branch. Or, the hair on the arm of the Creator, which is tenderly holding us. Or that floating piece of wood in the sea of consciousness, not understanding that the sea of consciousness will always keep us afloat. Differentiating egoically what we feel we want and what we actually need can be a little tricky, and that's why I did that video on wants and needs, and that's another great video as well. But in essence, what we're looking at is, what do I need to evolve versus what do I perceive egoically that I want, and why do I want it? I have no problem with wants, but I always say examine the want closely. Because if you're looking for something to make things okay one day, and that's part of your wants, you're never going to experience it being okay. It being okay exists right now. Jackie says it changes when we get out of our own way. Exactly. The biggest barrier to us is us. A Rumi quote. Today I was intelligent and I battled unconsciousness in others, and today I'm wise and I battle unconsciousness in myself, or something to that effect. Okay, when we get out of our own way, when we let go of our issues, especially about ourselves and about life, and really just boil it back down to trust. I'm a simple guy at heart. If you talk to Kelly, if I could ever convince her to get on the screen here for any length of time, I think she has a little bit of stage fright. It's funny. She's sitting over there right now, and she's kind of grinning at me and shaking her fist. And
I don't really exist.
She likes to pretend she doesn't exist. Not true, sweetheart. You certainly do. When we get out of the way of ourselves, when we move aside, I can honestly say that no, that there are times where my ego still says, where that sense of I that I have still says, I don't like this. But that's always overridden by the simplicity of understanding, trust, of having faith. Kelly would tell you, I'm at heart a very simple guy. Why? Because I believe everything is really simple. I don't think there is anything complicated on this earth, except our ability to complicate things. And it simply comes down to faith. And if that is all you can have is trust, and look with the eyes of trust at your life, whether you like it right now or not, you will see through those eyes of trust that everything that is occurring is serving you so deeply, so perfectly, beyond what we ourselves could wish for ourselves. I know. Yeah. Cindy says the only image was you creeping behind me on the floor. Peeking up into the camera. My wife thinks she's a cat. One of these days, I've already talked to her about getting her to video. Okay, good one. But, yeah, Jackie says she's going to boycott until you show your face. I'll get in here soon. So, I just want to make sure we've covered off this and that everyone's okay with this. Okay, so with our prayers, What we're really doing, if you need to pray for anything at all, gratitude, and pray for understanding. Pray that which you are, in our limited capacity sometimes to see the larger picture, is granted the spaciousness, the grace, the stillness that we can find in meditation and in contemplation and in silence and out in nature, visiting that steady candle within us, that we are granted an understanding, that we are granted the vision of trust, the vision of faith, with an expectant attitude of, show me what this physical manifestation is representative of in my energetic being. Show me what it is that I am to receive, what I am to evolve through this experience. Allow me to see it. Allow me to accept what comes. Give me the strength that I know I already possess. And as we said, pray to whoever you're most comfortable with. Egoically, you as yourself. I personally love praying to Christ. I don't get on my knees and pray. We have great face-to-face conversations in earnest. Choose what works for you. And I would invite you to pray in that manner. Our intentions to heal others, as I said, of Christ and of Reiki, from the quantum view, we are not doing the healing. I am not able to heal another. I am able to facilitate the possibility of healing within a small space. Christ, of course, was able to facilitate the possibility of healing within the entire body energy field. But of course, some chose it and some did not. Their higher being, their sense of where they were egoically, everything that forms them, that either served them to be healed or did not serve them to be healed. And sometimes it does not serve us to be healed so soon. Or maybe to be healed at all. And I would invite you to understand that if it is not to be healed at all, and indeed you feel the icy fingers of death reaching over your shoulder, be at total peace. It's only because he had his hand in the icebox grabbing the ice cubes he's putting in your martini before taking you to the best beach you've ever been to. Cindy, I'm glad this has helped you. I am grateful that we could help. Our destiny is indeed, for the most part, predetermined. We are all destined to go home and come back and go back and go here and there throughout all of the known universes until time immemorial and live an eternity of fun and growth and evolution. That destiny is guaranteed. The destiny of who you picked when you came into this world, the destiny of the major turning points in your life, they're all chosen. They're all looked at, discussed, worked out, planned as a grand adventure, as the greatest story ever told about you. And you'll do it again, and you'll do it again, and you'll do it again. Our destiny, our freedom of choice, of course, it's all about the baseball bats. We choose the size of the bat that we want to get whacked on the back of the head with. We choose the material. We choose what we land in. You will, through numerous lifetimes, as part of your being, have every experience available in this relative illusion. My own knowledge of the roughly 3,284 years of past lives that I have been part of, collectively, tells me that you will experience in all lives, all ways of dying, all ways of living, all ways of being, all ways of experiencing. In any life where you find yourself waking up, in any life where you find yourself evolving consciously, hold in your core the magnificent gift that you are making for the next incarnation of the collective being that you are part of. Because we don't ever devolve. We don't ever go backwards. In that regard, the Buddhists really, mess that one up. You cannot decide to come back as a snake. That would be a devolution of consciousness. You are in an evolution of consciousness. Whatever occurs to you in this life, you are gifting onto the next being that you are going to be part of. Sydney, I'll tell you, I wanted to dissolve back into that sea of consciousness too. And you can. It's okay. But, this is really hard to get through to people. But in 11 minutes of death, I kayaked on this magnificent lake on the other side for I don't know, 400 or 500 years. And got really tired of it after a while. As much as it seems right now, as hard as it can seem right now, and I've been there. I have been there where you are. I get it. You're going to want to come back. You're going to want to have these experiences again. And what I'm trying to say, and I'll say this directly to you right now, Cindy, is that what you are going through now, the awakening that you are having, the ability to go through an illness from a state of higher consciousness is doing wonders and pushing the evolution of your collective being that you are ahead. It's serving you. Serving the whole as well. And it's an experience that you won't have to go back into again. I have faith that whatever happens will be what it needs to be. And I also have faith that there is a profound gift in here for you. And I can't see it right now, and I'm sure you can't see it. But I have faith that you will. I really do. I think we're going to pretty much wrap it up there. I need a break this afternoon. I got to get some rest and do some more work with that crazy lift. Look forward to some more good releases next week as always. And I'm so appreciative for those who show up for these events. Much love. Namaste. Have a wonderful Sunday afternoon. And of course, if you need to speak in private or wish to video call and have a private chat with me, get a hold of us on Messenger. We'll fit you into our schedule next week, and we will certainly do so. Take care for now.